Hey guys, it's Zaylee Barkley of ZayleeBarkley.com, and we are quarantined. So I'm looking for things that would be helpful for you when you're starting your online course. One question I always get is about workbooks. I have a video on the channel where I share how you can create fillable workbooks on PDF Escape, which I use and love still. I'll link that down below. I'll actually link that video down below. But what I didn't do in that video is show you how I create my workbooks in Canva. So I'm going to show you how I create my workbooks and how I upload them into Thinkific. And I'm also going to share the view that I prefer for sharing my workbooks with my students because I feel like that's really important. You guys know that I'm a very visual person and I just love visual aspects of an educational experience. So stay tuned if you want to see how to create your workbook from scratch and all the way up to uploading for your students inside of the platform. All right, let's dive in.
All right, guys, now we are on the back end of this video. Now, I want to share about what Thinkific is. It is an online course platform that you are able to create online courses in. But one thing I love doing in Thinkific is creating workshops and adding workbooks to them. I feel like it gives a different experience to your student, keeping in mind that everyone learns differently. So someone might be able to look at a workshop and just take their own notes, or they might be able to have a guided workbook so that they have better results, right? So I love combining that. And so I'm going to show you how to add your workbook here. So we're going to be creating your workbook and then we're going to be adding it to Thinkific. Now, if you want to get access to this free workshop that I have right here, and you can see people are subscribing as we speak, you can actually access it. And so this workshop is for the person that wants to create more video content, wants to create more organized video content that actually attracts the right people and makes them money at the same time. This workshop is usually $69, but you can get access for free, and I will leave that link down below. Now, the reason why I'm sharing this is because so many people reach out to me about workbooks, and I'm also a Thinkific expert, so I also do all of this goodness for people as well. If you're interested in that, I'll definitely leave a link down below so that you can contact me. So what I'm going to walk you through is actually tips for your workbooks, right? So I have a few really valuable tips that I want you to keep in mind when you're creating workbooks for your online course. The next thing we're going to walk through is cover design. So all of this is going to be done in Canva. So we're going to walk through cover design, sizing. We're also going to walk through workbook design as well, and how to make use of the amazing templates that Canva has inside of their database. And we're going to show you, or I'm going to show you for that matter, how you can actually make them yours with your branding and such. And then when we're done doing all that, then we're going to go into Thinkific and upload it. Now, I showed this before. Now, this is the workshop. Like I said, people are actually signing up as we speak. But what I want to show you is actually I have a guide in here, and this is kind of what a guide looks like. A workbook is different from a guide, and we'll be sharing or explaining that some more, but this is how a guide would look in here. And so it's kind of reminiscent of what a workbook would look like when you upload it. Like I said, you get access to this workshop, you get access to all of this goodness. So let's actually dive in. The first thing that I want to talk about is workbook tips. And I want to talk about this because I see a lot of workbooks for sale online that you can make yourself, one, and two, we're thinking about beautiful and we're thinking about simple and we're thinking about functional. And that's not what I get from some of the workbooks that I see for sale. Because you want to remember that your student wants to actually take action with a workbook. They want to actually be able to ingest whatever you're teaching and print it out and write it down. Or, they may want a fillable workbook as well, but you want them to be able to actually use that workbook, especially if they're printing it out. And so one thing is that if you are creating a workbook, you want to think about the fact that people want to print that workbook out and write in it, right? And so a lot of times we're not doing that as creators. We're just thinking about beautiful alone, and we're not thinking about functional and simple. So the best sizing for your workbook is actually right up here. Canva did a little revamping, which I actually love. And so you can actually easily find that letterhead 8.5 by 11 inches. And so I'm going to just open that up. This is the foundation for our workbook, and that's how easily you find it. So it's always going to be that US letter sizing. So I like to do this because it's the most standard size of paper that is going to be in your student's printer, right? So it's just easy to create it in this way. Now you can either do this, and it's, up to whatever works best for you. You can either do it vertical, or you can do it horizontal as well, or landscape. And so I can show you an example of something that I have done in landscape, and it's actually my video pro planner. So it's done in a horizontal format, but it's the same size that we opened up, right? So it's this exact US letter size, but we just changed that 11 to be the size of, or the length for a matter of fact. And then, the 8x5 is over here. Now I kind of wanted to open up this as well to just show you, this is an actual planner that I have and that I sell as well with a workshop inside of Thinkific. But I wanted to show you how I actually brought in my brand colors. So understanding what your brand colors are is always going to be important, because if you want to change something around, it pops up. And so we have the document colors, but these are my colors inside of Canva. So I can easily find them. I always know what the hex code is, and it's easy for me to just design whenever I'm ready, right? So make sure that you have your brand fonts and your brand colors. And you know that if you are on the paid version of Canva, you can go into your brand kit. So that's really important to keep in mind. Also, if you truly want your student to use your workbook, you want to make sure that it is simple and that it has more white in there, right? So make sure that you have more white in there. So what would have been crazy is if this background was actually a different color. Like, let's say it was a completely dark blue or black, and they printed that out, it would not come out right. So I want you guys to, there's a balance of adding elements of your colors, but there's a balance of also keeping it simple so that they are actually able to print it or write into it, because you don't want that blue might reflect in black ink, and we do not want that. So I just wanted to cover those things with you guys. Keep your brand fonts and your colors so that you're able to add them and just create a special touch for your people, and think about simplicity. So we are going to go back into designing this untitled design that we have here. And what we are going to dive into next is that cover design, to create our workbook cover. Now, one little trick is that you can actually start over a design and you can find magazine covers, right? So I search magazine here, and so I'm going to see what magazine covers they have. Now, keep in mind, beautiful, functional, simple, right? So even though we look for covers, we still want to think about something simple. So I would be looking for something like this. This is pretty simple. This is a good simple base for us to start from. And as you scroll through, just think about simple. So this is beautiful, simple, and functional because someone can print it out. So keep that in mind. And also when you're using templates, the beautiful thing is that you can change it and make it your own. Look at this, right? So this is what we're looking for. We want to stay away from ones like these where you have a big photo and lots of colors, because you don't want your person wasting ink. So you can definitely create something beautiful without having too much going on it. So let's say I do want to use one of these covers and actually transform it. I'm looking for something super simple. Now, one thing that I want to make sure of, that it is the exact size that we spoke about before, that US letter size. And the way that I can figure that out is going to file, and then you can see the size. So this is perfect for us, right? So you would use that other untitled US letter if you are just creating from basic by yourself, where you are actually building and, you're adding your colors. So I would put something lighter, and then I would start adding elements to it. But for this, where you're building from a template, you want to look for something simple, and you're able to change your fonts. You don't really need a barcode for a workbook, so I'm going to remove that. I'm going to remove the pricing as well, and I can start adding things that are, in alignment with my course. So let's say my course is based on video content, which it is. What I already have is I know what my slides look like. So I kind of want to keep this same thing going. Now, kind of like you saw me before, I added a photo. And so I'm going to remove this photo that they have here. And what I'm going to do is add a photo. So I'm going to go into my uploads so I can see exactly what I have going on, and I can find something that is actually relevant. So let's say I kind of want to look like I'm working on something, and this is a picture that I actually removed the background from in Canva. I can use that, or I can use so many other things. Sometimes I'll put a computer on there. So something more like this, where it's actually showing you what I'm using specifically. Now, you probably like this placement and this font. I actually love this font, and it's actually one of the fonts that I use in my brand. So I can actually put workbook here. Now, one other thing is that you can, and this is just an example, guys, so I'm not going to go into all of the things, right? It's not going to be perfect, but you can see that something is starting. You can also add a tagline for your course. Right? So whatever the tagline of your course is, that would go here. Right? And so for me, if I go back to my screen, I can see that the tagline for my course is learn the 5-part video framework that you can use to build a stronger business today. So start building your know, like, trust factor to convert with video. And I can copy that and I can paste it into my tagline, right? What I want to do also is just make this a little bigger so that I can see what's going on it. Right? And so I may want to just change the spacing, because it is a bit, so I may want to change this font a bit, if I'm being honest, and make it a bit more bold. So because that was a magazine before, obviously, it was above. So I want to put this below, right? And, you're just adding elements to it. One thing that I like doing with a workbook is I'm going to remove the background of this picture because it is a bit, it's a white picture, and it's going to show when I show you this. What I want to do now is, so I think it's perfect. It's all removed now. I am actually going to take an element. So I'm going to take a square, and it's something that I use a lot. So I'm going to take this square, and it's one of my brand colors. But remember, we're thinking beautiful, simple, and functional. So I'm going to change it to one of my lighter colors, right? And so this would print probably as a light gray. And I'm going to send that to the back. So I'm going to send that backward. And I kind of like having a half kind of effect here. Right? So let's actually make this a bit smaller so you can probably start seeing it shape up. I may make this font a bit smaller as well so that it fits a bit better. So I have that tagline, or, what the workbook is about. And I just have, that course workbook. Obviously it wouldn't be named a course workbook, but we're just moving through quickly here. Right? And so maybe I'll bring this up a little more. Right? And expand this back there a little more. Like I said, I kind of like that half, look of having half of the page in one color. You can even change the background, the full background of the page, to probably a lighter gray, like I have in my branding. And so you're starting to create a bit of a cover here, right? So I just wanted to be sure to share that. So you can add your brand colors in your cover. You can create a title. Another way to find text that probably fits together without using a template would be actually, and this is something that I kind of love doing as well, is going into text here And so this is if you don't have specific fonts just yet. And look at font pairings in Canva. That's always helpful. So if you look at font pairings, you don't have to go choose two fonts that look good together. And so that's kind of what we did here with this template. This looked great and this looked great with this, right? So, and you can change colors just to keep it on brand. So if you kind of look at this, it kind of now falls into alignment with, what this looked like, right? So you can see that it still looks, like the same brand, right? And remember, this is going inside of that workshop that I mentioned to you guys before. It's going inside of this workshop. So we kind of want it to still represent that brand and keep that line of branding strong there, right? Now, we are going to start talking about our workbook pages, the insides of the pages next. So I just wanted to make sure and share this with you guys. Now, a little bit about text here is that, let's say you have different modules that you're creating different workbooks for, you want to make sure and add that. So what I might have done is made a copy of this and made it a bit smaller. Right, so I'm going to drop that sizing down to probably something a bit smaller. And then I'm going to type, the module. So where is this going to be? Let's say this is going to be module 1 or lesson 1. Right, so you can actually also put that there, so you're differentiating your workbook as you move along. Now, I love creating a base of a workbook, and this is just simple, guys. You can go crazy, definitely. Like you see here, like I go crazy sometimes. This is a guide, and it's meant to be clickable. It's not meant to be printed, and that's why it looks different. But what I want to share is that when you are actually creating this, I like creating one template for a workbook and then duplicating that. So you can actually go make a copy. And so all of your modules will have that same look, and you can change elements of it, but the baseline of the branding is going to be the same for your course. So I just wanted to share that. And like I said, through this workshop, because that's kind of what it is, or through this video, we're talking about beautiful, simple, and functional workbook design. So now we are going to tackle the inside of your workbook. What you want to do is, and you can see I changed up some colors here just to give it that pop of color and keep it on brand, right? So these are elements of my brand colors and what they would look like. Now that we are going to create the inside of the workbook, what I'm going to do is just duplicate this page, right? And I am going to, so this background that I put here, we are going to bring this down to the bottom of the page. Now this is the bar where we are going to possibly put our website or our name, our copyright information, or just a page number. This is up to you, right? And so now that we have fonts, so I'm going to remove this because we're clearing out this page to start sharing probably content or information. So I'm going to make this smaller. So I just dragged there. We're going to center this. The cool thing about Canva is that you can actually use it where, they center things for you, or so that you don't have to average, right? So Canva is getting better and better. So now this is what we are going to have. And so let's say I do want to pull those elements in of the workshop itself. I am going to just keep video planning and organization workshops. I'm going to copy that. And I'm going to place it right here, right? And I'm going to make sure that it is exactly how I want it. And maybe make that a bit smaller because it's more text. And now I can show you how to position it. So you just hit center and it's centers, right? Now, so this is how we are going to start building. What I'm going to do is change this gray background to white. And I'm going to find that color right here. Right. And so you're also able to remember, we just changed it to a lighter gray, but you can also keep that white as well. Right. I love white, but I do love that gray sometimes. Now you can see that it's kind of coming together and it's still all on brand. And so this is where we're going to start copying things just so that we keep that consistency. So this is just a simple workbook we're creating, nothing too crazy. And so the reason why I copied that is that so we can put that probably website on there. So it's going to be for me, startshootgrow.com. And this is optional, guys, right? But for me, I kind of like people to remember what they're working on or who they're working with. And so I'm going to put this right there. Now, this is something that I do want to talk about. These colors are clashing, so we can hardly see that start, shoot, grow. So what I would do is probably change that to black or change it to something that is contrasting well with that background. So you can see that we see it well now, right? And we weren't seeing it that well before. And I'm just going to show you a little closer what that looks like. So it was red before and we can hardly see it. So we want to see it. So I'm going to change that to black. Right. And then over here, what you can do is I'm going to duplicate this again. And I do a lot of duplicating in Canva. It's like the best thing ever. And so I am going to probably put a page number. Tip. Always do your page numbers last, because like the last thing you do, because what happens is, and I'm going to just bring that in there. The reason why you want it to be the last thing that you do is that you don't want to be inserting pages last minute and, having to change page numbers and having wrong page numbers. That is one of my mistakes that I make. And I want to make sure that you are not making that mistake, right? So you have your bottom bar where you can put your website. Like I said, you can put your copyright information. You can put different things there. You can put page numbers. It's really up to you. Another thing that you are able to do is probably just put your name, right? Now, what I want you to make sure that you are doing is keeping your text. So this text is obviously Open Sans, but it is capitalized. So what we can do is take that off of uppercase. So we can use this same text. And let's say we are creating our explanations for things. And so what I would do is not have that bolded either. Right? So let's say this is the font that I do decide to use. I want to make sure that both sides are even. And the cool thing with Canva is every time I move this, you can see that a margin kind of pops up. So we want to stay within that margin, especially for printing purposes. Right? So that margin is going to pop up, that purple line that pops up. So you keep it within that line. And I'm just going to copy this for the sake of mimicking a paragraph. We want to keep that writing in black as well. Remember, we are also thinking printable, right? One thing that I do want to recommend is probably changing the spacing here, because it's a bit wonky, because it's more text. So now that I've moved it around a bit, it looks more wordy. Right. And if we had time, I would completely switch out this font actually for something more simple, but we don't have a lot of time. So also what I'm going to do is make sure that those lines are also spaced out a bit. So line height so that people can read and that it doesn't look too congested. Right. So you can see that this looks a bit different now. And I'm going to, just map that out. So it has good sizing. You can also, like I said before, make sure that it's centered, and it is. One thing that I love to do, and so you want to also pay attention to your spacing, make sure that your titles and your text are not too close together. And another thing that I really love doing is when I'm giving instruction, because I like making my workbooks informational and actionable, right? And so one thing that I love doing is adding a place where people can also put their thoughts. And every time you do this, so these are like where they would fill in, or it's actually what we would make fillable. And I want to keep inside of those marginal lines as well. So you can see them popping up again. It lets me know don't go lower than that, because I still want this to be separate from this. I don't want to blend it in. So you want to pick a light color to do this. So either a gray, I have a really light blue in my branding. And what I want to do every time I do a rectangular box for action is I want to make sure that I am actually making it a bit transparent, so that if it's printed out or anything like that, they can see through it. So if this was black, right, you wouldn't be able to see through it. You wouldn't be able to see your own writing there unless you're writing with a white pen. And we're thinking about printing. So remember, beautiful, simple, and functional. And I get all of that from this. And what I'm going to do now is probably just bring that down a bit more so that you can see like the page itself. So you can see that it starts filling out. Right? What I like to do is create my first page and then I start duplicating that to create other pages. And that's also very helpful. So we have this here, right? And then what I'm going to do is duplicate or copy this page. And then I can go on with page 10 and page 11. And this is just a simple workbook, guys. So what I'm going to do also, I'm seeing things that are bothering me. So I'm going to bring this down a bit more so it's less spaced out. Right? And it looks a bit better. It takes up less space as well. And I have a full course on this stuff, so I'm not going to spend forever, but I just wanted to give you the foundation of creating a workbook for your online course. Like I said, keep in mind, beautiful, functional, and simple, because you want your person to be able to print your things out easily. And, so for this, let's say I want to duplicate, I can stay here forever, guys. That's the problem. Let's say that I do want it to be separate, 2 sets of separate text. I can move those things around. And that's really why I love creating in Canva. Right. And even outside of your boxes, you can duplicate again. And so what I'm going to do is probably remove this and put a photo of something, right? So even if it's a photo of something that I have that I do want to share, or even if it is, an element that I have, and this is a picture that I actually got online, and I removed the background so that it's easy, right? So I just wanted to give you guys a base. I almost forgot. You definitely want to rename your workbook. And I'm just going to put course workbook. And so this is a sample workbook. It was just an example for me to create this for you guys. And so what I am going to do is actually download this, right? So I'm going to download it. I'm going to make sure that it's PDF print. And I'm also going to make sure that, it's all of the pages that I want. And I'm going to hit download. Now, the next thing that I'm going to do is go into my Thinkific backend. If you have not signed up for Thinkific just yet, I'm going to put a link down in the description box so that you can actually do that. And so what I am going to do is I'm going to just add it. I'm going to look here and I'm going to add lesson. Right. So inside of Thinkific, and I won't go too much into this because I'm going to upload more videos about Thinkific. If you do want to see more videos about Thinkific, definitely let me know in the comments. And so what I'm going to do is just add a lesson. I'm going to add a PDF. And so I'm going to choose PDF. Right. And then what I'm going to do is title my workbook. Like I said, this is just an example. And I'm going to select that file and upload it into my system. Right. And so now it's going to be inside of Thinkific and my students are going to be able to see it. Now, what I'm going to do is go to the front end of my course. And like I said, you can sign up for this course down below. It's a free course that I have for you. And I'm going to just hit refresh. And now what I'm going to do is show you what that workbook looks like on the front end for the students. So if you're inside of Thinkific, this side is for instructors to create and design their courses. And this side is the front end. And you can actually preview your own course by hitting preview course and it'll open up like this. So this is what your students will see. And what I want to just show you is that workbook, right? So that workbook looks like this course workbook, and they're going to be able to just hit here and download it. But this is what it's going to look like. Just an example of what that is going to look like. And you can add more elements of yourself and your brand, and you can make it much more beautiful. But I just wanted to show you guys how to create a beautiful, simple, and functional workbook. I do have a video on how you can make these fillable so that they can type directly into it by downloading it and typing in Adobe. Some people love to do that. Some of my students love to do that. So I offer that as an option in my workbooks as well. And Michelle just subscribed while we're recording. Hey, Michelle. So people are signing up. I want you to sign up for this free workshop as well. I will see you guys in the next video. Let me know down in the comments what you want to see next.
All right, guys, we're all done. I hope that was helpful for you. I hope you got something out of it. Please let me know down below in the comments what you've been using to create your workbooks, and are you using Thinkific for your online courses just yet? Let me know down in the comments. I want to know, and I'll be sure to answer you. And be sure to share, like, and subscribe if you aren't subscribed to the channel just yet, and be sure to turn on your notification bells as well. I know that was a whole lot, but listen, we get busy on this channel. Anyway, I'll see you guys soon. Take care.